Hi everyone, this is going to be a quick tutorial showing you how to use Autodesk Inventor 2019 to produce an engineering drawing. So this is going to be what we produce at the end, which is based on this drawing. So I'm not going to go into detail on that. So to get started, you need to just go to the class page and download the Inventor title block, which will come to the downloads. When you click on it, it'll automatically launch by default into Autodesk Inventor. Now this is a different view to what you're probably used to. You're probably more used to this actual part, and that's okay. I'll explain some things as we go along. Essentially, we've done the tricky bit for you in that we've created a title block, which you can just constantly reuse and adapt as you need, which is great for what we're doing. So let's get started. So just over here, I press this button, which kind of zooms to the right, the whole screen view. And I've already got that 4.5 block open, so I'm going to click on base on the top left corner and just maybe drag that to a better location. So I'm going to be looking at doing the top and the right side views as well. And when I'm happy, I can press OK. That's pretty easy, isn't it? Once you've done the hard work of drawing the model, and hopefully did a decent job of doing the dimensioning of it, it's actually pretty quick and easy to get this final bit together. Now these are all dynamically linked, which means if I make a change to one, then they all get changed, which is great. So probably just while we're playing with this, if I just double click on this, and you can see there's a slight red outline. If I double click here, I can change the scale. I might just see if I can make that maybe 2:1 and see if this is going to be a better use of the page. That's not going to be better. It doesn't quite fit on the page, so I'll undo that. So now that I've got my top left and right side views, I'm going to get some dimensions on. So again, if we've done a good job in the modeling stage, this is pretty quick and tireless effort. If I left click on one of the models and I can right click, and I need to go to retrieve model annotations. A whole heap of measurements will come up, which is awesome. Basically, all of the previous hard work that I've put in here has come across, which is great. And I can now just sort of select the dimensions that I want to keep. And you'll see that they're turning blue. And I'll select what I think I need. Now it's important not to over dimension. And I've also can put dimensions on all three views if I need to. So I press OK, and just escape to close that. Great, so I've got some dimensions to start. This is not everything, but I can now left click and drag a dimension around to reposition it. That would be better over there, but I can make do with that. Measurement of 20, that's good, and that's probably not ideal. I think the drawing actually has it as being a 45-degree angle from the base, which I think I'd rather keep. So let's do the same for this top view. Let's see what dimensions we can get without having to do any more work, because it's always advantageous in CAD. That's one of the reasons we want to do CAD. I might take this 100 from there actually. I'll take the overall width, and that 30 might be better suited here as well. Okay, and I'll press apply, and I'll again just escape out of that and drag these up. So that's going to be better. Ideally, I want to try and avoid having dimensions in this sort of corridor. Just helps with how the model's presented. Really helps the legibility of a drawing if everything's clear. So this dimension here is probably not going to work out. That'll be probably in a bad spot. No, that will work. So just left click and drag to sort of where you want them to be. Awesome. Now that's not quite fully dimensioned, so I'm probably going to get rid of that dimension actually. I'm not happy with that, and I need to replace this. So the next thing I want to do is up the top panel, if I go to annotate and click on dimension, I can now left click on the starting line and on the second line that I want to dimension, and there's my 50. Okay, I can delete this. You get this pop-up, so you can just press escape out of that whenever you select a dimension. And I'm just going to delete, there we go, the delete key, get rid of that dimension. Next I'm going to try and get that 45-degree line. So hopefully I should be able to select this one angled line and that horizontal line. Let's see, that's coming over. Not quite. I might try selecting it the other way and see if that works. angle dimensions can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I'm not sure if you can see, but just to the right of my cursor, it's actually changing shape. So that's saying it's going to be a dimensioned angle, and that's going to... Oh, okay, that was swapping between being a parallel dimension. So this is great. I can select 45 degrees, or I can pan it over to being 135. So obviously I'm after that 45 degree, and I can now just delete that dimension out of the way. Awesome. That's a duplicate, and I don't want to have any duplicate dimensions. That does not help with the reading of this model. I might put another dimension. So if I press D, that's the shortcut to bring up this dimensioning tool. So I might just bring in that dimension. And ideally I want to have dimensions in line with each other. What I mean by that is that the tails meet up, and that's a convention. Again, it enhances the legibility, because that's the aim of the game with our engineering drawing. So I'm going to pan this over a little bit. So again, so it's parallel to this one down here. And I might get this dimension here. So that's the D button to bring in a dimension. 26, that's important. And I think it's probably important to find this space here. I think probably the last dimension I need to get is that that hidden detail, which is only really visible in here. So again, I'll just D, and I'll bring that dimension over to 10. Awesome. So this looks like I've got all of the dimensions here. There's no duplicates, which means I've done a pretty good job. If I put another 30 here, that would be over constrained. 100 there is sufficient so that you can apply a bit of maths to find out what that dimension is. So that's awesome. So the next step, I guess, is to focus on filling out this stuff in here. So designed by, no, I'm not John Smith. So again, Inventor's got a pretty cool way of handling this. If I go to File and scroll down to iProperties, and we've got a couple of tabs here that will help us. So Title, and it says name your part here, name your part here. So I think this is Drawing 4.5, so I'm going to call it Drawing 4.5. Drawing 4.5. Subject doesn't have a spot. Author, I'm B. Gulliford. Awesome, I'll click Apply. And I'm going to come over to Project, whilst I'm here. And I'm going to change part number, which you'll see is presented down here. I'm going to type year 10 4.5. And again, I'll just fix up designer. I think this is just a duplicated field, unfortunately. Need to get rid of. That looks okay, and I'll click apply. And then lastly, status. Is there anything we need to do here? It'd be good if you could put a checked by as me. So BG, might just put in Eng approved by BG, and MFG approved by BG. So if I click apply and close this, hopefully that should be updated. Okay, don't worry about the mark awarded, don't worry about the date. We're not doing additions here. We've got the drawing design name quite clearly prominent. I can identify what this project is out of all the different work I'm handed in. So the last thing is this sheet. So again, Inventor's pretty nice for us. If we go back to the Place Views tab in the top left, now that I've got this whole thing, if I was to save this, potentially, just as my name, if I say save as, and I'll save this in my documents and then in my Inventor folder. Hopefully, if you've already got a project sorted out, I might just close Year 10 Engineering. Now that I've got this, I can now click on New Sheet, and presto, I can start the process again, and you can see that I can just dynamically change these names, and the sheets are automatically updated. So the last thing to do, I guess, for submission is to, sorry, I'm just double clicking on the picture here to change back to drawing one, is to go File and Print, and then print it as a PDF in A3. So I don't have any printers installed on this, so hopefully this works. Great. So Adobe PDF, go to Properties, and you'll need to say that it's landscape and that it's in A3. So you'll have these properties a little bit more readily available. I unfortunately don't have a printer installed on this laptop, let alone A3. So you need to make sure that it's A3 in the printer settings and landscape. Awesome. Thanks for watching.